You're listening to the Paul Young Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back. And today we're doing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Part 2. and I've set it up. Remember, this is back in the day. Regis is just a famous person all over the world because of the show. And they've been stacking up shows, shooting 2 a day so that they can take a 30-day break. The staff and the film people and Regis and everybody. And we're the last show to be taped before the 30-day break. So it's our turn. We have a holdover from the first show, and he makes it, I think, also to 64,000 and gets it wrong, or he bails out, whatever it was. But he took a chunk of our show, like every holdover did. So now we're in the circle, what the Ring of Fire, I think is what they called it. And Regis introduces himself. Now, we had been coached. They had come and said to us, look, you need to understand a couple things. And they'd done that in the morning rehearsal. So we knew all about that. And what they said was, look, please understand this. Regis wants you to win. Regis loves when you win, but he is really bad at this. He thinks he knows the answer, so he'll even kind of steer you in that direction, subtly, but he's wrong most of the time. So don't pay attention to Regis. Just do what you want to do. And just remember, Regis is really bad at this. Okay. So we get in the Ring of Fire, and holdover is gone now. And the very first question, I think it was the very first question, that 20-something-year-old gal with her dad that Chad and I had breakfast with, she wins, which we kind of had thought that she's going to do that. So she starts answering questions, and she's climbing the ladder, right? She's doing great. And so she gets to, you'd have to watch this to remember. So I'm going to guess that she gets to 125,000. So it took a big chunk of the time. She gets to 125,000, or it's the question for 125,000. And Regis thinks he knows the answer. And so he begins to steer her. And she's smart. She is capable, smart. She's got it together. But she falls for it. And so it's Regis is like, yeah, oh, too bad. That's, but you still get 32,000. And so it was like that. But she was on a roll. And I'm sure she probably thought she knew the right answer, but she bent toward Regis. Now, the next question was about something that I knew nothing about. And so I just pushed the buzzer and was wrong. But I didn't even get to answer the question. I just total guess. Didn't have a clue. And the person who did, I think they made it to 32,000, and that's where they ended. Now, I have to think about this. Was there somebody then? There was another person, and I missed it by a split second. I had the right answer, but I just didn't get it fast enough. So another person got in the Ring of Fire, and they took it to close to the end of when the show should be over. And so I think it was a guy, and when he was done, there was this like 15 minutes where we just sat on the Ring of Fire while this conversation that we couldn't quite hear was going on. And at one point, because we were waiting so long, somebody comes out and they're going, look, we're trying to figure out whether we want a holdover for the next show, because we want to make sure that holdover is able to come back, to be wearing the same clothes, to not look like they've, shaved their head. Also, it's going to be 30 days. They have to go home and not say anything to anybody for 30 days. And then we'll fly him back here, her back here, and they'll be the holdover. So they talk back and forth, and Regis is involved in it, and everybody's yakking. And finally they said, yes, we're going to have a holdover. And so there's 8 of us, 7 of us, 9 of us. I don't remember how many of us are left. So we're in the Ring of Fire, and Regis asked the question, and I nailed it. I absolutely nailed it. And so now I'm the holdover. All this time, they have been trying to figure out if they're going to have a holdover or not. If they decided not to, they would just start the next session with a new group of people and, build it from there. But they decided to have a holdover, and I nailed it. Now, every time you answer it, they go back through the film, they go back through the timing, they go back to make sure that they're not going to end up in a lawsuit, that somebody's not going to be freaking out, that go to the tabloids, who knows? So it was a few minutes, 5 minutes or whatever it took for them to check through all the film and stuff. So what happens is you're watching the show. As soon as somebody has the right answer, they cut it. They say, cut, and then they check the film. That's what they do. So when they turn the film back on, you have to fake like you're all excited because, yeah, you got it, but then they had to check the film, and now you got it. So they go, now look excited. So if you ever see this, and I think it's out on YouTube and all that kind of stuff, if you ever see this, you'll see me all excited but I was faking it. So now I'm in the hot seat, right? I've moved from the ring of fire to the hot seat. And they haven't showed Chad on film because they normally have somebody in the audience and they'll point the camera at him and stuff like that. And so they haven't. So they asked the first question. It's not a hard question, and I get it right. So I go to the second question and I get it right. And it's over. So I've answered 2 questions sitting in the hot seat. 2 questions. And now I got to go home and wait for 30 days and not tell anybody. Of course, my family would know, but I can't tell anybody for 30 days. So I call Kim on the phone, and she is out camping. And she said, well, did you make it to 32,000? And I go, no, I'm so sorry I didn't. She goes, oh, honey, that's okay. And I said, I got to go back. She's like, what? So I explained to her all this thing that happened and reasons why I have to go back. Everybody that were my friends and stuff, they all knew that I was going to go on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but they didn't expect that I'd be showing back up and I couldn't say anything. And so I just told them I couldn't say anything. But in my family, I'm like, okay, we got to wait for 30 days now. I got to sit around and wait, which I studied a lot, I got to tell you. Tried to figure out trivia stuff that I didn't have a clue about. So we waited for 30 days. It wasn't easy. It was like, oh my gosh, I got to figure out how I'm doing this. I am watching the show during those 30 days to try to figure out, all right, what's going on here? How's this working out? And I figured something out, and I'll tell you about that next time. And I'll tell you the rest of this story in part 3. Thank you for listening. If you would like to contact or connect with us with inquiries and questions, comments, suggestions, stories, and more, please visit paulyoungpodcast.com. There you will find resources and notes related to any particular episode. Today, participate with love, do the next right thing, and trust the ripples.